Hey everyone, welcome to this amazing workshop and session on the benefits of craniosacral therapy. If you've never heard of craniosacral therapy before, you are in for a treat. Today's kind of the flow of today is it's really the basics of craniosacral therapy. So we won't be diving too deep into it. It's just a great overview, whether you're a practitioner or you are somebody that wants to experience craniosacral. My name is Alicia Long, and I am a natural health educator, currently in a 4-year program to become a naturopathic doctor. And this is one of the amazing tools that I have acquired in my toolbox. This is Julie, and Julie is my assistant today. So, you guys, this is really cool because not only will we be going over slides where I kind of break it down for you of what craniosacral is, I'm going to be turning my computer and Julie will be jumping on the, well, she won't be jumping, but she'll be laying on the massage table so that I can show you guys what craniosacral therapy looks like. And I invited her to do this today, and I'm so grateful that she's here because I feel like hands on is always better. So, I'm going to be sharing my screen and we're going to go over some slides. If you guys have questions, if you could do me a favor and type your questions in the chat, or even better, just kind of grab a pen and paper and just kind of jot down your questions as we go through this, and then I'll open it up for questions at the end. A lot of what I'm talking about today is from this book, Craniosacral Therapy and the Energetic Body. And this is by Roger Gilchrist. Gilchrist, if I said that correctly. So this might be a really great resource for you guys to have. And then I will also be referencing from the School of Naturopathic Institute, where I take my classes, the craniosacral bodywork. You'll see me referencing this guide as well. So if there's any practitioners out there that are interested in growing their toolbox or desire to learn more about craniosacral, I am currently being trained at the Naturopathic Institute. So I'm going to share my screen and share. And we're going to go to the presentation here. Okay, my loves, can everyone see the screen? Thumbs up. Girls, can you see it? Thumbs up. All right, good. Thumbs up. Okay, so benefits of craniosacral therapy. I'm going to have to move us out of the way in order to see here. There we go. All right, come on down. There we go. Okay, so craniosacral system. The craniosacral system consists of the membranes and fluid that surround and support the brain and the spinal cord. It extends from the bones of the head, the cranium, down to the bones of the base of the spine, your sacrum, hence the name. The system is intricately connected with the rest of the body. Therefore, by gently creating changes in the craniosacral system, the body can self correct. So, this is never about the practitioner healing or self correcting you. Your body naturally self corrects on its own. Dura matter is attached to the skull bones. It is actually the lining of the skull. Movement of the skull bones is continual and very, very minute. This allows for the production and reabsorption of cerebral spinal fluid. When skull bones become rigid, locked, or immobile, the function of the entire craniosacral system becomes impaired. The production and reabsorption of cerebral spinal fluid is so important because it bathes and nourishes the brain and the nerves feeding into the spinal column. So when I learned about this at school, I think that many of us don't think of the skull as being mobile. We think of it being fused together, right? We think of it as a hard, rigid system. And the truth is, the reality is, it's not. And when the skull becomes that rigid, locked system, we can't free the flow that we need of the cerebral spinal fluid can't do its job. And if its job is to bathe and nourish the brain and the nervous system, no bueno, right? We need that little tiny movement to be accessible. So that was kind of an aha moment for me. So you can see here the importance of the nervous system, the importance of when we do craniosacral therapy. And this image on the screen is just one that I found online. And on the left, it shows us the parasympathetic nervous system, and then on the right, the sympathetic nervous system. So that sympathetic nervous system is when we kick into fight or flight. Our pupils are dilated, we have heavier salivation, increased heartbeat, and our body was trained, from the very inception that if we see a tiger, we need to fight. We need to get out of the situation, right? But sometimes we get stuck there. And if we get stuck in this fight or flight and our nervous system is always firing up, that's not good for our hormones. It's not good for our nervous system. It's not good for our circulatory system, all of the different systems of the body. We have to get ourselves back to parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. And craniosacral therapy is all about getting our body back to a place of balance and a place of mobility, but also tapping in and restoring that parasympathetic nervous system. So these are just kind of some things that you'll see with parasympathetic: a slower heartbeat, our digestion, is better. The pupils are constricted, and things of that nature. This image on the right, again, I found online. I wish I could credit the person that created it, but I liked this image because it shows you what craniosacral is about: the top of the cranium, all the way down, all the different vertebrae of the spine into the sacrum and the tailbone. And it kind of just shows the flow of the fluid. The arrows going up, I believe the reason the arrows are going up is because our circulatory system and our heart, our respiration, which moves the oxygen in the blood up. So I just thought that was a great visual so you can kind of get an idea. So, craniosacral rhythm is a motion noted by the craniosacral practitioner, and it is distinctly different than a heartbeat or respiration. The art of detecting this rhythm is in patience and holding each section of the spine. So, you're going to see with Julie when she gets on the table how slow and intricate the movements are. For those of you familiar with yin yoga, I really like to think of craniosacral as yin yoga meets chiropractics meets massage. And the reason that I like to think of it like that is because in yin yoga, you're holding poses for up to 3 minutes. And you're really getting deep into the fascia and the tissue in the body. And it's the same thing with craniosacral. It's like an art almost of just gently the pressure of a nickel. It's barely any pressure at all as we allow those tissues to release on their own. During the flexion phase, the body externally rotates and broadens. During the extension phase, the body internally rotates and seems to narrow. This expansion and contraction is the spinal fluid moving. And again, it's so little, guys, it's so minute that we can't experience day to day. We're not grocery shopping and going, oh, there goes my spinal fluid, right? It's not something that we just experience on a day to day basis. Okay, so here's some fun history. The mobility of the skull was discovered by Dr. Sutherland in the early 1900s. He discovered that the bones of the skull are not fused together and only become rigid after death. He also discerned a slight pulse within the cranial bones. Unfortunately, Dr. Sutherland's peers did not believe him, and it wasn't until Dr. Upledger discovered similar findings that craniosacral therapy was widely accepted. He was assisting with an operation to remove a plaque deposit in the dural tube, and he was not able to hold still because of the pulse. So you can imagine this guy, Dr. Sutherland, in the early 1900s. He's got these findings, right? And he's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, the cranium is not rigid and not fixed. It's mobile, it moves." And his peers going, "Well, we don't believe you. That's hogwash." And him trying to convince the medical world that this is a thing. And then 1970-ish, Dr. Sutherland or Dr. Upledger comes about, and he's helping, with surgery, and he can't hold the body still. And he's like, guys, there's a pulse happening here. It's not circulatory, it's not respiratory. There's a pulse happening here. And so, a lot more science went into it, a lot more research went into it. In fact, kind of a fun fact, since we're in Michigan, Dr. Upledger studied at Michigan State University. So that was a fun fact that I learned in class. So that's just kind of a little history. And then this is a picture right here on the screen. I believe that is Dr. Upledger, and a lot of practitioners will study under his process. Okay, what is craniosacral? It is a light touch therapy that works with the tissues around the sacrum, spine, and bones of the cranium. It's used to facilitate tissue movement, release tension in the body, improve nerve flow, and create optimal production and reabsorption of cerebral spinal fluid. Sounds pretty darn important, right? What are the benefits of craniosacral? Let me move my face out of the way here. Migraine headaches. Hello, how many of us are, headaches, right? Craniosacral helps with that. What a cool tool to have. Chronic neck and back pain, babies with colic, autism, ADHD, PMS, TMJ, which is jaw related when you clench your jaw, central nervous system disorders, orthopedic problems, concussions, traumatic brain injuries, Alzheimer's, dementia, spinal cord injuries, scoliosis, chronic fatigue, on and on and on and on. There are so many benefits. Fun fact as well, I actually posted a fun video to my Instagram. Sunny Side Up Wellness is my Instagram, and I posted a fun video of the benefits. You guys, people came out of the woodwork saying how craniosacral therapy has enhanced benefit and even saved their life in some instances. I have a dear, dear friend that was in a car accident, and she's paralyzed from the waist down. And she said that craniosacral therapy is the one thing that even brought any life back to her body. And I was so proud of her for sharing that. Yeah, pretty amazing tool. So, I also spoke to a woman this morning when I was teaching a class, and she told me that her grandson or her granddaughter, her grandbaby, 2 months old, is not latching. So breastfeeding isn't latching. And so the mama took the baby to a chiropractor that actually specializes in craniosacral. And the baby will be receiving craniosacral to help latch, which I think is such a cool story. So craniosacral for all the things. Okay, so tissue release, a very light touch, no more than the pressure or the weight of a nickel. So if you took a nickel, I wish I had one right now to feel on your fingers, that is how gentle the practitioner touches your tissues. And it's that slow release. When Julie gets on the table, there's one move, one protocol, therapeutic practice that I'm going to do. And if we were doing a full session, I would actually have my hands on her sacrum for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And it goes faster than you think, but it's just this tiny, 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 tiny movement and touch to allow the sacrum to release. Craniosacral therapy is non-invasive, extremely gentle, characteristics of tissue release. So while you're receiving the therapy, you may feel a lengthening of the tissues, increased fluid flow, increased energy flow, and heat. When I received it, I did experience some heat and a change in breathing. Okay, there's this other part, you guys, of craniosacral that's important for you to know. We have something surrounding our bodies called an electromagnetic energy field. And craniosacral therapy is a holistic therapy because it takes into account the entire whole being. It addresses more than just the physical aspect of the person. Our bodies are surrounded by an electromagnetic energy field, not visible to most human eyes. I'm sure there's some people that can see an electromagnetic field, but during a craniosacral session, energy is released. Consider for a moment that someone is in a serious car accident. According to the laws of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So where does the energy from the accident go? It enters the body and it penetrates the tissues to a depth that is determined by the force of the collision. If the body is healthy and able, it can dissipate the energy, which is hopefully what we want. But if the body is unable to release the energy, it's stored and it disrupts our normal functioning. So imagine the trauma being shoved down, whether it's physical trauma from a car accident or emotional trauma from a lifetime of things that have happened to us. If we don't get them out of our bodies, that's not going to be good for any of the systems of our bodies, right? Better to be out than in. Storing that emotional trauma or that physical trauma, it's craniosacral will help release that. Characteristics of an energy release. So, same thing with the tissue release. We also have an energy release, and you may experience hot or cold sensations, vibration or pulsing, tingling, numbness. A therapeutic pulse is a characteristic of an energy release. It's been observed by the body self-correcting. So we call that a therapeutic pulse. If someone has acute pain or an issue that needs special attention, the practitioner might use directing energy technique to organize condensed energy to that area. So actually that example that I showed you where I hold my hands on Julie's sacrum, which I'll show you on the bed, that is actually a direct energy technique because I'm directing my energy onto her sacrum, and then that's allowing her tissue to release and her energy to release. It's also very common, I want to note, that energy has to release before tissue can. So imagine you're storing toxic energy in your body or things that have happened to you. The energy has to release before the tissue can in some cases. So that's good to know. What to expect in an appointment. The client is fully dressed, just like Julie, resting comfortably on a massage table. The pace is slow and relaxing. The client might fall asleep. This is totally normal. Some people in my training class were snoring. Not kidding. It's very, very relaxing. The therapist will find the areas of imbalance and work to correct them. Many people report a deep sense of relaxation. CST is excellent for all ages and even pets. Now, I don't know how we would do it in pets. I'm not there yet because I was looking at my own dog and I'm thinking, well, he's not going to lay on a massage table. So I would imagine when you're more advanced in the practice, you can do craniosacral just from seated or on your pets as well. Most sessions are 30 minutes to an hour plus. And after the appointment, drink lots and lots of water and take it slow and easy. So just like a massage, you guys know you have to drink water after a massage because you're flushing all the toxins out. All right, so it's time to get to technique. I threw this image on here from the internet just so you guys could kind of see like what techniques might look like. It's not really the best image, but this was just my holder place while Julie gets on the table. So before we do that, let me go back a slide. Before we do that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. Before Julie gets on the table, do you guys have any burning questions that you want to ask from the presentation?
How is this different than deep tissue massage?
Great question. It's very different. Very, very different. In deep tissue massage, the practitioner is firmly pressing and using the energy of his or her body and pressing into the client's body, and you're getting deep into the muscles, underneath the muscles. In craniosacral therapy, you are touching as light as a nickel. You're barely, and what's happening, Di, is you're allowing, let's say I held this on your C7, your cervical spine 7. Let's say I held my fingers like this, gently trying to release any stuck energy or tissue for 5 minutes. I mean, it barely feels like anything, but the art of it is that all the work is being done under the tissue and in the fascia, but I'm not forcing it to happen. I'm allowing it to happen naturally. Does that make sense?
It does. So you think this is more beneficial than a deep tissue?
I don't think it's more beneficial. I think it's different.
Just different?
I think it's
Okay.
different. I think deep tissue is also beneficial, and I think deep stretching is also beneficial. I think it's just it's different, and it accesses places we've stored stuck energy and tissues that have been holding on to toxins and things for a long time that perhaps deep tissue trying to firmly get out those those areas of tension isn't the best way for your body. I think sometimes we need that gentle, soft, and slow pace, right?
Right.
So both are beneficial.
Okay. I had a follow-up question, but I'll have to remember it.
That's okay. Write it down if you remember it, and then we'll get to it after. Okay?
Okay.
Great
Yep.
question. All right, so I'm gonna have Julie jump on the table. Again, not jump. Okay, so we're gonna have Julie come head here. So Julie's gonna lay, actually, I'm gonna take this off. Okay. And then you don't need to put your head in the cradle. So just rest your head here. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, so everybody can see the bed, yeah? Okay, everybody can see Julie's feet, correct? Okay. All right, now I'm gonna grab my book. All right, so there are 26 techniques in the craniosacral therapy protocol that I learned. There is a few different protocol, but the protocol that I learned, there's 26 steps. So these 26 steps here, I am going to briefly go through them. So I think I mentioned that a typical craniosacral therapy session is 30 minutes to an hour. And I'm not going to take that whole time on this video. So I'm just going to kind of go through them so you can get a feel and idea for what it is. So step number one, well, first and foremost, what we want to do is we want to ground ourselves. So grounding is when I am taking all four corners of my feet and just kind of grounding into the earth and feeling my own energy plant in like the roots of a tree. And then maybe grabbing Julie's feet and just encouraging her to take a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. Once again, inhaling and exhaling. Feeling that nice, relaxing, grounding state where we're in each other's energy field, but we're still grounded in our own energy. So that's the goal there. The first protocol, the first thing we're going to do for femur alignment is I'm going to gently grab onto Julie's right ankle and just this part of the procedure is not the nickel pressure. So when I talk about the weight of a nickel, that's going to come around step 8. So right now, I'm just aligning her spine. So grabbing onto her ankle, first thing I'm going to do is traction. So I'm going to gently, kind of gently but firmly, root my feet in. And now, Julie, can you feel that traction in your lower back?
Yeah.
Okay. So grabbing onto her ankle, I'm going to rotate out into the edge of the bed. I'm going to bring the ankle back. And this is femur alignment, your big bone in the top of your leg. So then I'm going to lift it up. And again, we're working her lower back right now. We're working her sacrum, releasing the sacrum. And this is more mobility. And then as I drop the leg down, I make sure the traction goes back in. And then we go to the other side. Oh yeah, we got to be careful. So she has a bad ankle, and that's always a good thing from a practitioner standpoint. You always want to say, do you have any knee issues? Do you have any ankle issues? Okay, so Julie, I'm going to barely pull.
That's fine.
Is that okay right there? Okay, all right, good. So the traction, femur alignment, and then bringing the foot out, bringing the leg out, bringing the leg back. And then lift up. You doing okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, do you feel a decompression in the spine?
Yeah, it felt like actually something kind of, yeah, I definitely feel it.
Okay, all right. Now, keep in mind too, I would have gone slower. Just kind of bopping through this to show you guys, just kind of bringing the legs out and in. Okay, so then we want to internally rotate the ankles a bit. Internally rotate the ankles. And Same thing here. So her ankles are turned in. I'm going to do it again as I gently, with 2 fingers, press on her foot. Just kind of keep her foot turned in, and we're still focused on femur here. So femur alignment, traction in the lower spine. Swinging out. And then swinging in. And then lifting up. And then pressing internal, careful with the ankle once again. Pressing in. Bringing the ankle out. So you can think of this as like a nice gentle adjustment of the lower back. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then with the feet turned in towards each other, just kind of gently pressing them in towards each other. Still onto femur alignment, and then the lower back, the sacrum. And then I would do both feet at the same time. We would rotate back out, carefully grabbing the ankles, firmly rooting through my feet, almost using gravity. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Once again, think of this as a nice decompression of the spine, allowing tissue to release, energy to release out of the lower back. And then releasing and coming back through. Okay, so making our way through femur alignment and internal and external rotation, decompression of the spine. I am going to skip ahead. Actually, no, I'm going to take us to step 5 and show you. I'm going to do steps 5 and 6 and 7, then we'll skip 8, and then I'm going to show you, then we'll get into the nickel part. So the first part of the technique is a little more firm, just to get into the tissue and allow some alignment to happen. So let's see here. I'm going to have you, hold on one sec. You know what, Julie? I'm going to have you, if it's okay, I'm going to have you flip over onto your belly. Yeah, you can put your head in the cradle. Perfect. Okay, so just make sure that the client is comfortable. There we go. So Julie is on the massage table here, and she's got her head resting in the cradle. You're comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So you never ever want to come on the spine. Never ever. So the spine is here, and this is the palm compression technique, and it's kind of like kneading a cat. So the palm compression technique, we're going to start to the side of the spine and come across the table. And we're going to fold our hands into each other. That feel okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're essentially working with the energy and the tissue on the left side of Julie's body. Kind of holding our hand in. Okay. And then I would come to this side and I would do that same thing. I would fold my hands in. And then after I did both sides, I would do a compression technique. I put my hands on top of each other and I'm just kind of pulling the fascia and pulling the tissue. Does that feel okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the question about how is this different than a deep tissue, I'm not going deep at all. I'm surface here. I'm applying a little pressure, a little compression. And again, I'm on the side of the spine. So just to even her out, I'm going to come over here Same situation. We would do our hands on this side, coming side to side. Much slower than that. And then the hand on hand compression to even out the sides of the spine. Okay, so on our belly still, we're to step 7. And remember, I told you there's 26 steps. So right now we're into step 7 and it's glutes. This one feels really good. So again, think of your sacrum right here, your lower back, and then you've got your thoracic spine and your cervical spine, okay? So your thoracic spine right here has 12 vertebrae, and then down here is 5, and then you've got into your glute. So we're gonna find that meaty part of the glute that's underneath the bones. I'm gonna take my palms. I'm just gonna press. And my goal here is I'm trying to release any stuck energy or stuck tissue in the glutes. So as a practitioner, I might hold this for 2 to 3 minutes until I feel some sort of release. Don't forget to breathe. Are you doing okay? How does that feel?
It feels good. One
Feels-
side seems tighter than the other side.
One side seems tighter, yeah. It could be. So this pulse that I mentioned to you guys, this therapeutic pulse, as a practitioner, you become attuned to feeling these things. And it's different than a heartbeat, like I said. Sometimes it takes longer. Now, I will tell you, I already felt some kind of pulse on the right side. Is your left side tighter?
I feel like the right side's tighter, but.
Right side.
Mhm.
This side's tighter.
Mhm.
This side's tighter?
Mhm.
That's the side that feels
Mhm.
tighter. Okay, I'm turned around. All right, so we would hold that. Okay, so that's the gluteal compression. Okay, so this is the part where the water bugs, we get into the water bugs. I call it the water bug or the nickel. So if you picture a little water bug, you know those little bugs that float on the water, that's the amount of pressure that's going to be that we're going to be using, the amount of pressure, the weight of a nickel from here on out. Okay, so the tailbone rock. And this is the one. Okay, so we find the tailbone right there, hand on hand. Gentle compression. The weight of a water bug, the weight of a nickel. Make sure you're breathing. And so I would stand here and I would hold this for 5 minutes and just gradually, slowly, naturally, Julie's sacrum would start to expand and release and let go of any stuck energy just by simply holding. It's the intention, right? There's intention in the energy, there's intention in the holding. There might already start to be a little heating sensation. It's like a hug. It's like a hug of the sacrum. And so, guys, from here, we would actually move up the spine in every single vertebrae. And so, this part of the practice would take 5 minutes here, 12 minutes here, about because it's 1 minute. We want to come to the side of the spine. So, my thumbs look like this. You'd come to each side of the spine. Again, water bug, super gentle. And I would hold each vertebrae for up to a minute, even longer if it needed, until I felt that little release. and Julie experienced that little release. We are literally giving so much love to the spine because we're inching our way up every single vertebrae, all the way up the thoracic spine. And when we reach the cervical spine, when we reach the top, that's when I would ask Julie to flip over because we would work the cervical spine with her facing up, with her facing prone, supine, flipping over. Okay, so Julie, I'm going to have you flip back over. Okay, so if Julie and I were doing the entire session together, if we were going through all the steps, you guys would have seen me placing my thumbs on the side of each of her spine. So you can see lumbar segment release. We start with the lumbar. Then we go to thoracic segment release, which is the middle spine. And then we go to cervical segment release. And you can see the patient or the client flips over. And so you have 7 cervical spine, right? 7 cervical spine up here. And so I would spend 1 minute in each section of the spine. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. And of course, if you were on my table, I can never help myself, and I'm always giving head massages. So if you're ever on my table, I'm always giving head massages. So, okay, so again, keep in mind that the release is water bug. The release is the weight of a nickel. So I'm not getting in there. It's different than a massage. So Julie, I'm just going to move your hair up. Okay. I'm going to come underneath. Okay, because her cervical spine starts down here. And with my fingers, I'm just going to come to the side. Gently applying pressure with the right finger and the left finger on each side, not on the spine. And then I would take about a minute on each side. We can work on our breathing and our meditation during craniosacral too, because it's a lot of quiet time. And then coming all the way up. So we would have those 7 points, right? All the way up the neck. So once we got through those 7 points of the neck, this one's my favorite. So if I was on a desert island and I could only take one craniosacral move with me, this is what I would take. And this one's called the mastoid and occiput suture release, okay? And this one creates a cranial release, and we're holding it for like, again, up to 5 minutes sometimes. So we take our hands like this. Okay, we crisscross our hands, and the client's head is resting right here on this soft spot of my thumb. So I'm going to lift you up. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Julie's head, Julie's cranium, resting on my thumbs. And you guys remember that the craniosacral fluid that we were talking about, right? So what's happening here is if there's any stuck craniosacral fluid, if there's any areas of tension in her head, in her neck, this holding, this intention as she breathes, as she expands and contracts, there's a widening and a lengthening and a broadening happening. Sometimes you might feel like a little pop pop. It's very, very minute. And I feel like craniosacral therapy is such a patient practice because you're really intricately waiting for each of the areas to release. And so with Julie, we would need to hang out there a little bit longer. But again, I'm just showing you guys the protocol here. Okay, so that we're on step number 15 out of 26. So this gives you an idea of like how much time you spend releasing parts of the body. And then we come into the occipital. So I'd rest my hand underneath here. And then I would take my other hand here. Again, water bug on top. And there would be this fluid motion right to left. And this is why it's so good for migraines. If you think about moving that fluid in the brain and so we would do that for a while. I'm going to skip ahead a few just for time's sake. So if you guys do a complete craniosacral with me, or if you get it done by another practitioner, at least you have kind of an idea of what to expect. All right, I'm going to skip ahead to step number 22. Step 22 is facial brow stroke. Okay, so no more water bugs, no more nickels. And this one releases tension from the brow. So we come up from the brow. Swipe the energy down next to the ears, away from the jaw. We do that 3 times. And then we swipe our energy instead of above the brow. Now we come below the eyes. Get down and around. Also, a face massage feels really good. So we do that 3 times. And then I like to call this one the marshmallow. Fingertips just below the eyes and above the brow. And we squish like a s'more. And squish. It's releasing tension in the face. And then, right, sometimes headaches mean things are compacted and stuck. So this one's really good to open. Oh, we open this more. Open. Open. Opening up the eyes. Okay, so that was step 24. Means we've got 2 steps left. So step 25 is the polarity stroke. And this goes back to the energy. So I am in her energy field and she is in mine, right? So we want to clear that energy field. And we want to come down around her forehead and out her arms, just kind of releasing the energy. And then we'll come down the middle, letting it go out the belly. And then we come down her legs, sweep out the energy out her feet. Letting the energy out. Toes. And then the last thing we do is the clavicular release, if I could say clavicle correctly. Okay, so Just kind of as a practitioner, you want to kind of root yourself in, come underneath the shoulders and just kind of give a nice little press. And Julie's breathing, inhaling and exhaling. And then as I bring my hands up top, kind of where the shoulder bone comes in, the brow line. Big inhale, Julie. Exhale. Okay. So after the session, we want to instruct the client to get up very slowly, wake up gradually, maybe roll onto her side, come into fetal position, just taking it nice and easy and nice and slow. Um, Again, make sure there's lots of water, lots of hydration happening. So I know that was quick, but how did it feel?
Really good. It was a bit like a adjustment, like you're saying.
Uh-huh.
And at times I could feel a little bit of pulsing, and
Okay.
I don't know if it was energy or actually, but I could feel it
Energy or
pulsing.
tissue. Okay.
Yeah, and it was very relaxing.
Awesome. Good. Yay. Well, that's good. Okay. So take your time, Julie. Get you some water. Um, Thank you so much. Thank you for being my Vanna. All right. So that is it, you guys. That is the premise of what craniosacral is like. What do you guys think? Questions, thoughts?
I do have questions, and if the other person online has one,
Okay.
I'll let
Yeah.
her go.
Sure. Eva, do you have questions?
Eva?
There you go. You're off mute.
Okay, you can hear me now? Okay, sorry. I think it's a very cool practice, actually. And being that I've gotten massages and all, and do a lot of yoga and that, I'm actually looking really forward to the release. I think it'd be very beneficial.
Mhm. It'd be very beneficial to you for you to experience Eva, but then also as a yoga teacher for you to acquire, because even in adjustments, not
Absolutely.
but even just my favorite one on a desert island, you could hold the person's head and just allow their cranium to release, in shavasana if you were if they were comfortable with you being in their energy space.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It seems like I think it'd be very neat to learn a little bit more. But definitely looking forward to being on that table. I was a little jealous of Julie, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, you'll be on the table soon enough, sister.
Absolutely.
Can't wait. Thank you.
Okay,
You're
so you
welcome.
can feel the energy? Both
What
of
was
you
that?
can feel each other's energy, right?
Yep.
I've actually had other type of energy work done, and yes, you actually do feel the energy. And oftentimes, even with that light pressure, it feels like it's more than what it actually is because you're drawing the energy from the other person.
Okay, how similar is this to Reiki then?
Oh gosh, Diane, that is such a great question. So I am not a Reiki practitioner, and I've never taken any sort of Reiki course. But if you think of what I know about Reiki, and Eva, maybe you can jump in here too, but Reiki is all about energy. There is
Right.
little to no touching in Reiki. And so if you think of our electromagnetic field, and if you know a thing or two about chakras, so you have these lines of energy, okay? Let's say our heart chakra, this heart space right here, the energy field in our heart has been blocked for a really long time. We're not feeling compassionate. We're not allowing love in. We have a lot of grief that we're holding here. This could be an energy block. And so Reiki would allow that energy to be moved and facilitated in a way that it can leave the body and release. So craniosacral similar, but craniosacral I would say is a marriage between the energy release and the tissue release. So you are doing a little more than the energy field. Does that
Right,
answer the question? Yeah.
You've got the, okay. Now, when you were grounding, do you prefer socks or no socks?
I prefer putting my feet in the grass, to be honest with you. I like to touch the earth and get my feet, no socks, totally barefoot in the grass. And so then I take that in my mental space. When I'm grounding, I close my eyes and I picture my feet barefoot in the grass. And it's all about the intention of the energy. So you're thinking about the roots of a tree growing into the ground and you rooting in. So that way you're able to facilitate energy and be in somebody's energy field without giving away all of your energy. It's a
But
very
when you
powerful.
talk about grounding Julie, she had socks on. Is that okay?
Oh yeah,
Or do-
totally. Totally fine. So I could have socks on too. I could have boots on, and it's all about the intention of it. So I would say the best way to learn to ground is go outside, put your feet in the grass, then take that feeling with you. So even if you have socks or boots on. Now, from your perspective, how do you ground on a table? When I was encouraging you to ground, what did that feel like?
I think for me, it was the visual of the breathing and the taking the good energy in and blowing the bad stuff out. But I kind of have to agree that maybe if I did not have socks on, I think it would have been better, maybe for me.
Okay,
Yeah, just
no socks.
I think in general.
Consensus, no socks.
Now, doing such light touching, especially with the ankle and the moving of the hips,
Mhm.
do you hear any light cracking?
I didn't hear any cracking. Not to say it wouldn't happen, but I didn't. Julie didn't.
I didn't notice any this time.
Yeah.
Okay, I told you I've got a bunch of questions here. Okay. When you were doing your fingers down the neck, how many fingers do you usually use? And are they at different points on the neck?
Great point. Great question. So these two fingers, okay? So picture your spine right here. This is your spine. And I'm coming on the side of the spine with my pointer fingers. You could do two. You could. I was just using one. And it's that, let's say C7. So cervical 7, then cervical 6, then cervical 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1
Okay.
minute hugging each
Each one.
segment.
Okay. I didn't know if you doubled up or whatever on them.
Good question.
Do you go near the axis at all?
That's at the lower sacrum, right?
No, the axis is up.
That was an atlas.
Atlas. Sorry, Atlas. It's
Yeah,
if the
you work the entire spine.
yeah. I mean, my Atlas goes out a lot. So,
I think we've talked about that before. Yeah.
and how is cranial fluid different than spinal fluid?
Craniosacral fluid is what we were talking about today, and
Mhm.
it's the same. From what I learned, there's craniosacral fluid is what flows through your nervous system from your cranium all the way down. So it's not different.
So it's just a different name.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you were doing the facial thing, the eyebrows, is
Yeah.
that helps with TMJ
Yes.
and migraines as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One last question.
Yeah,
Sure. You got lots of good ones.
there's
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Does this renew myelin?
Ooh, gosh, Diane, what a great question. I don't 100% have an answer to, does craniosacral therapy renew the myelin sheath?
Or regenerate.
Let's think about it for a second. Okay. The myelin sheath is the protective coating of the nerves, right?
Yeah.
The cerebral spinal fluid is able to flow better and reoxygenate the nervous system. Wouldn't that in turn reoxygenate the myelin sheath?
You would think so, but I don't know.
So I just was closing my eyes and feeling my way through that. Do I have a scientific, without a shadow of a doubt, proof answer for you? No. But
No.
I bet we could call Dr. Upledger. Actually, I think he passed away, but we could
Yes.
Like, I mean, we could try to call him.
well, and this is a really important point. So MS, right? Multiple sclerosis, an unraveling of the myelin sheath. When I think of craniosacral therapy, just because some people in my life that I love dearly, that's something that they're dealing with. Um, if I had to think of one tool for MS right now out of all my toolbox, I would say craniosacral therapy is number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes, I think my questions are done.
Look at that. We made it exactly an hour.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for being here and being a part of this. I appreciate it. I can't wait to have you on the table. Julie is sticking around for a reflexology session, and reflexology is an amazing complement to craniosacral. Reflexology is just strictly on the feet, and
Yeah.
it's more pressure than a nickel. It's more pressure than a water bug, but that is facilitating healing to different organs of the body, and noticing where we might be holding on to tension. And so for reflexology, we look for, I like to say crunchy. There's like crunchy parts of the feet and the hands. So
Mm.
also very healing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
you can find
crunchy.
out what needs help.
That's right. Well, we all need help, right?
A bit more.
None of us are exempt from that.
Nope.
There are certain parts of the body that need a little more help than others. So
Amen, sister. Amen. Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the next wellness workshop will be posted to Sunny Side Up Wellness, to sunnyandholistic.com is actually the new URL for my website. You can still do AllieMarieLong.com, but sunnyandholistic.com will also get you there. So coming up in April, I think will be the next workshop. March, we take a little break, and then all throughout the rest of the year. So
okay, to text us.
I know where to find you. Thank you. Thank you, girls, for being here. For anybody watching the recording, please reach out if you have any questions. You can email me at bornsunnyside@gmail.com. bornsunnyside@gmail.com, and reach out with questions. So, okay. Thanks, girls.
Okay.
Have
You're
an
welcome.
awesome day.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks.